At the end of the 2nd century, China was in trouble. The empire, long united, had divided. Why? It was said to be inevitable. Why inevitable? Few ever asked, and fewer still knew the answer. For years, the capital had been held in a dream, screened from the unrivaled empire it commanded. The eunuchs who controlled the imperial court kept the depravity of the world from the emperor, and he in turn praised them for their rule over a world that so rarely produced ills. Outside the capital, the bodies of the people lay unburied in the fields. Taxes could not be lowered when harvests failed. Doctors could not be recruited to tend to epidemics. Corrupt officials and soldiers could not be dashed against the law and destroyed. None of this could happen, for the emperor knew not of it. That is, until the smoke trailing up into the sky was visible even from the quiet gardens of the imperial palace. In the year 184, the realm was taken from the emperor by its own people. A revolution surged, with millions of hungry, leaderless people turning to the great preacher of peace, Zhang, and his so-called Yellow Turban Army. Counties, commanderies and provinces closed their doors on the Han Empire. The imperial house was about to be destroyed, and replaced with something unthinkable to those that hung their own dynasties from its rafters. Desperate, the eunuchs had the emperor authorize the landowners, officials, and anyone with a mote of loyalty in their hearts to take up arms and restore imperial law to the lost territories. This was a chance for any man of ambition to grant themselves rank and render service such that the rank would one day be even further elevated by the emperor himself. These men, these warlords, emerged from gated mansions, from city offices and from mountain schools, and became so fierce that the revolution of millions was cowed and faded away. They told themselves that the Yellow Turbans were rebels, and were taking the right to peaceful lives away from the people. Sometimes this was even true. One of them believed it more strongly than any other, a mat weaver from a small northern town, a man named Liu Bei. Liu was the family name of the ruling Han dynasty, and since he was a child, Liu Bei had told anyone who would listen that he was a relative of the sitting emperor. It had stuck, and when he strode from his weaving shed at 23 years of age, the county captain he volunteered himself to was astonished by the man's regal aura. Liu Bei, a fatherless commoner living coin to coin, was granted money, soldiers, and mandate to lead as his apparently noble blood saw fit. Of the men he was assigned, the two mightiest, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu, he took as bodyguards and captains, and together they fought the rebels across the country for many years, becoming sworn brothers in the service of the imperial dynasty. For Liu Bei, his lifelong dream of playing a part in the grand matters of the empire was coming true. He pursued the destruction of the rebels with unmatched relish and energy, claiming heads by the thousands. His fury for the rebels equaled the extent of his kindness and gratitude to the loyal, peace-loving people of his empire. For his achievements, Liu Bei was granted a petty government office, a promotion beyond the dreams of a mouthy rural mat weaver. Others had far greater ambitions. In scholarly circles, it was well known that the strange fictions of the eunuchs were behind the empire's close call. Thus, just as it had been virtuous to slay the people beneath the yellow banners, it would be more virtuous still to seize power from those scheming courtiers. Many tried in many ways over many years, and by the end of the jostling, the eunuchs were all dead, and their offices and powers had been all taken up by a man from Xiliang with 200,000 troops at his side, Dong Zhuo. Dong Zhuo had so much power that he was the emperor in all but name, and his rule over the capital was even more despotic and self-serving than that of the eunuchs. Liu Bei felt the pressure himself when he was banished from his post as a magistrate by imperial decree. The emperor, or someone writing his decrees, revoked all offices granted in the wake of the rebellion, for the warlords of the land had gotten far too agitated by the power it gave them. These warlords were less than happy and marched to the capital at Luoyang to take revenge. Dongzhuo fled, but callously razed the city so that none could have it in his stead. He smuggled the young emperor beyond the western mountain passes towards his own stomping ground of Xiliang, out of reach for now. Liu Bei was not among the warlords at Luoyang. He instead packed up his possessions and wandered the roads of the central plains with Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, and a small retinue of soldiers left over from his years campaigning for the empire. Wherever he went, he took it upon himself to root out banditry, right wrongs, and preach the ethics of kindness to the people, never taking a bribe and never letting even a trifling concern go unattended. This was most unusual, and for his down-to-earth consideration, Liu Bei became a popular hero of the age. By the year 190, he was marching his army into the mountains of Dong Commandery in the rich region of Yanzhou. Here, the local villagers reported Yellow Turban sympathizers had turned to banditry, which was in truth where most of the outlaw revolutionaries had ended up across the country. It was then that he heard rumors of Luoyang's destruction and the abduction of the emperor, his own kin, if you'll consider a shared ancestor some 350 years prior to be a bond worthy of calling kinship. "There is not room under heaven for both I and the traitor Dongzhuo!" Liu Bei declared, throwing his cup of wine to the ground and storming out of his tent. "They are only rumors, elder brother," Guan Yu assured him as he caught up to his master. "Rumors that ripple from all directions, like Earth itself wishes we hear them. It is true." "I told you this would happen," Zhang Fei said as he joined them. "We should have gone with that Yuan Shao, no matter how stuck up he was. If we'd been there, we'd be drinking with the emperor in Luoyang right now." "Be calm, younger brother," Guan Yu said. "It was the likes of Yuan Shao who installed Dongzhuo in the first place. It would be disrespectful for our lord to march with him. Do not suggest this again." "So we're not going to go rescue the emperor even now?" Zhang Fei asked in astonishment. "We have already pledged ourselves to the townsfolk here," Liu Bei said. "Younger brothers, please be patient. The liberation of the Han encompasses all its people. Our work here furthers our final goal. Indeed, that goal is impossible without this, which is why only we can restore this empire to order." "If you say it, it must be true, brother," Zhang Fei conceded, heading back inside. "Should I send out scouts to seek more information?" Guan Yu asked. "No, get some rest, and make sure brother Zhang controls himself. We will challenge for battle in the morning." The Liu army of some 1,700 men formed up at the mouth of the valley that led to the Yellow Turban camp. All day they waited, until finally at sundown their foes emerged. They numbered only half Liu's force, and many were dirtied from a day's labour in the mines and fields. For weapons, most bore rakes or short bows strung only in recent days. At their head was Zhao Bo, his armour wrapped in black to mourn the death of the General of Heaven, Zhang Jue, the rebellion's old figurehead. "Beneath the yellow heaven, who dares bear arms against the people?" Zhao Bo called out. Liu Bei bid no reply be given. Zhao Bo raised a spear and reared his horse. "If you have no last words, then come receive your punishment." "Who is this bandit to dare request combat?" Liu Bei sneered, but already Zhang Fei had broken ranks and was rushing out. "Insolent rebel! Making us wait all day? Face me!" the tiger-like warrior shouted. He met Zhao Bo in the open field between the armies, and their spears clashed and twanged in a rapid exchange of blows. The Yellow Turbans were rushing to help, but a volley of arrows from Liu Bei's battle line sent them tumbling to the ground. Two more volleys laid the unarmoured front ranks to waste, and then before them they saw Zhao Bo's head rise up on the end of Zhang Fei's huge serpent blade spear. Seeing this also, Liu Bei waved his swords, and the government troops charged with a cry that echoed down the valley. The Yellow Turbans threw down what meagre arms they had and fled, but the walls of the valley kept them in Liu Bei's path. Many stopped to pray for forgiveness, and those not trampled by the horses in the enthusiasm of the chase were tied up and marched behind the army the next day as they travelled to the Turban stronghold beyond the valley's wide eastern mouth. That evening, Liu Bei, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu sat in a deceased nobleman's manor outside the pacified fort. The one they call the wielder of the heavenly way is marching along the river. He has gathered many outlaws into his band, they say. The people of Taishan are in grave danger, Liu Bei reported. He disrespects heaven with such a ludicrous title, Guan Yu said, clutching his green dragon saber across his lap. Brother, allow me to rid the Empire of this menace tonight. If you're willing to go, then heaven and earth alike would be forever in your debt, brother, Liu Bei said with a bowing salute. In that case, Zhang Fei said, suddenly standing, I'll go bring you the head of the traitor Dong Zhuo as well. Then we can feast in peace. Wait, brother. The great heroes of the land have already tried and failed to defeat him, and Luoyang's people were made slaves to the tyrant because of it. Besides, we three pledged to live as one that day in the peach garden. You'll let brother Guan go out, but not me, Zhang Fei raged. I can bear to be apart from brother Guan for a day. But Chang'an is truly far. How many seasons would I be made to wait without you, brother? You cannot possibly ask so much of me, Liu Bei said, bowing to Zhang Fei. Zhang Fei broke out in laughter, resumed his seat, and reached for the wine bowl. The matter of Dong Zhuo was dropped, but in the subsequent drinking, they agreed that all three of them should take their men to challenge the self-proclaimed wielder of the heavenly way. They left a garrison of troops at the nearby fortress to await the arrival of the inspector of Yan province, who would decide what fate should meet the pacified lands. They were in for a long wait. In the meantime, Liu Bei took his entourage north. They moved slowly, travelling off the main road to visit the villages and temples of the region. However, the people always scattered into the hills to hide upon seeing military banners approach. The rule of the tyrant is like a sickness in the hearts of the people, Liu Bei commented. They cannot know who is friend or foe. That such a time as this came about while I walked the earth is a curse I will not ignore. After 2 weeks, they came upon the market town of Taishan. In front of it, someone had erected a large black and gold banner that read, Huang Xiao, wielder of the heavenly way, will heal all who approach in good faith, and banish all who approach in bad faith. So this is the depth the rebels have stooped to now, Zhang Fei laughed. They field not armies, but bed covers. The brothers encamped just a mile from the town, then gathered their troops even closer on the following dreary morning. Ahead of them, more banners of black, blue and yellow lined the outskirts, although there was not so much as a ditch prepared in its defence. Bells rang out in a strange pattern from the low mist covering the inner streets. They've already taken hold of the town, Liu Bei lamented. We have no choice but to restore order by force. He sent his brothers to lead one half of the army towards the magistrate's office in the southern district, while he commanded the rest himself. He pointed out at the suburbs ahead of him and said to his men, The Emperor weeps for his people, lost in the clutches of the lying sages. The son of heaven's tears bring we, his servants, the greatest shame. Redeem yourselves now by bringing me the head of the traitor Huang. With a cry, Liu Bei's volunteer troops brandished their spears in both hands and rushed forwards. At the same moment, the mist from the town suddenly rose into the sky like a serpent withdrawing its tongue. Heaven is with us! Liu Bei cheered, waving more men into the assault. Those already charging forwards were pelted with arrows and bolts from watchtowers, and men fell as they drew closer to the line of turban banners. They heard thunder behind them and hastily parted as Liu Bei's horsemen galloped up with heaven's blessing to storm the town. They cleared the lines of banners and found crowds of men clad in black behind them, wielding swords, spears and staffs. The horses flattened those towards the front, but their momentum was stolen away and they became embroiled in a mess of desperate fighting. Liu Bei's footmen climbed over the fallen horses to join the battle. Liu Bei observed the chaos from behind, unsure what to make of it, until suddenly a single horseman burst from the fight and made a beeline right for him. This was Guan Hai, one of Huang Xiao's lieutenants. So fierce and sudden was his charge that Liu Bei was thrown from his horse as he tried to avoid Guan Hai's outstretched spear. Guan Hai jumped down and came at Liu Bei again, but the imperial kinsman was up on his feet already, with a gold-hilted broadsword in each hand. "I heard you were a man who understood the plight of the people," Guan Hai taunted as they fought. "That plight is your doing, rebel. You upset heaven with your unfilial and selfish behavior. Surrender! Great Teacher Huang was right about you," was Guan's reply, and the fight went on. However, this Guan Hai was a mere farmhand. He had seen many battles, but fought in few. Liu Bei parried his spear with one hand and cut him across the arm with the other. The spear was dropped, and Guan Hai was left staring at the gleaming midnight blade pointed at his neck. "Kill me, Lord Liu Bei. Blessed to be a timeless spirit, I will find a cure for your madness. I'm sure of it." Liu Bei wasn't sure what Guan Hai meant, but the confusion cooled his temper. He lowered his sword. "Your loyalty is strong, but misplaced," Liu Bei lectured. "You are right of heart, but have been deceived. Do you see that?" Guan Hai gave no reply. "Go. Study the proper relation of ruler and subject, heaven and earth. You have a good man in you." Guan Hai was less confused and more astonished that Liu Bei dared speak of such things with the slaughter of Taishan's people raging loudly behind him. Still, with little apparent merit in dying by this lord's hands, he took his leave while it was still being offered. In the southern district of the town, the Yellow Turban troops responded to the alarm of the watchman and gathered to defend against a new attack. Strangely, they saw only a single man riding towards them. The man's long black beard swayed as his horse soared across the dewy grass, and his long blade shone dimly beneath the haze-bound sun. He showed no signs of slowing down as he approached the wall of shields before him, and to the astonishment of all who witnessed it, he simply bashed them aside like reeds and carried on into the town. The street to the magistrate's office was awash with these black-clad warriors, blocking Guan Yu's path. His horse whinnied, the green dragon saber arced, and the yellow turbans collapsed upon each other in their panic to escape. Weapons and shields flipped and span into the air, sometimes with limbs still clutching them. Guan Yu said nothing, and heard no pleas for mercy in turn. Zhang Fei now arrived with additional horsemen, and together they cleaved their way down the tightly packed street. Their swords cut through the brooms the people held up in their defence, and the spears made short work of whatever scraps of armour they had hung over their bodies. The song of bells carried on, growing quieter. Religious chants were heard here and there, but the din of fighting masked it. Rising above the melee on his horse, Guan Yu saw a group of men in monk's clothing approach the battle. They surveyed the scene aghast for a few moments, then one of them rode out with sword in hand and carved a path through the melee. "You! Are you the one who styles himself wielder of the heavenly way?" Guan Yu called out. The rider came over to him and carefully cleaned his sword as he replied, "Heaven makes its will for the people known through me. Even the deepest cut from this blade can be healed by my hands. Yet in turn the merest graze will end the life of the impure." "You have brought death and desolation to these lands, rebel. Prepare to meet your end, in the name of the Han," Guan Yu growled, and a fight commenced. "You defend the Han like a dog guarding its rotting master," Huang Shao said after their initial bouts provided no victor. "I expunge the rot like a surgeon and restore the nation to life," Guan Yu retorted. "An easy thing to say. Don't you see, Lord, that the Han that brought us to these calamitous times is the very same Han you champion?" "Nonsense! It was the likes of you who brought the calamity, and now I will end it," Guan Yu shouted. "Carry on as you will, and perhaps if you live to be 5,000 years old, you'll see just how far off the end of your mission is." With this cryptic remark, Huang Shao rode away and signalled to someone in a nearby tower. Flags were waved, the bell song altered, and suddenly the turbans were fleeing the town in defeat all around. Liu Bei met up with Guan Yu and Zhang Fei shortly after, and they gathered the troops to celebrate their victory. Liu Bei ordered that a public feast be held to mark the liberation of Taishan from the bandits. However, this proved impossible. The houses and businesses of the town were empty. Every one of Taishan's 400 families had fled alongside Huang Shao. "To enslave a whole town. No better than the traitor Dong," Zhang Fei commented. Liu Bei began to arrange for people to be brought in from the nearby counties and farms to repopulate the town, many of whom he offered positions in his army as foot soldiers. With the guarantee of food that came with it, and Liu Bei's local reputation as a conscientious man, he found his ranks swelling over the next few weeks. With no word of Huang Shao coming in, and no developments from the capital, Liu Bei was almost despairing over his lack of ability to either save the people or the emperor. His floundering finally ended when a messenger arrived in Taishan, bearing word from a high official of the Han, word that spoke of an ambitious and devious opportunity to serve the beleaguered emperor. What did the message say? Read on.